Hi, Ben Beeton here, and what I've got before me is approximately the first third, potentially probably the first quarter of an image, which is actually a number of postcard images put together, and this large image documents in art form the story of the Birkenwells environmental expedition and the various people we came into contact with, the various environmental issues that we learnt about on our journey to the Gulf. Now, each one of the images is A4 size, and I've made them that size so kids at school can print them out and join them together. On the Culture Victoria website, they'll be able to go to the images and view the short films which are on YouTube that feature different scientists, different environmental activists, all sorts of people that we met along the way talking about what's important to them. Not only the history of Birkenwells, not only the type of environment that we have today, but also the changes in the environment as they've occurred. So I'm going to zoom in. I won't talk about each postcard separately, because you can learn about that when you actually look at the image separately. You can read the text about it and watch the films when they're available. So you can see each one is A4 in size. So we start with the introduction and we move through to an image such as this, and as you'll see, it's about different ways of thinking about the world, thinking about environment. I put these images in at the start because I wanted to show kids a little bit more about the country that we live in. Here you can see the structural elements and the sediments and human-induced soil salinity, natural vegetation, and in each case here's the Birkenwells track. So it highlights the various different types of systems that we travelled across, and frequently obviously people aren't aware of this. If we go back in deep time, we have these paleogeological maps, which are maps from the ancient past, showing different features such as Australia's inland sea coming here during the Cretaceous period, and you can see Australia's relationship to Antarctica. They're still joined together at that time. So some of these go much further back into the ancient past, and some potentially into the future. You'll find them at different times too. So again, moving through these images, each one is a postcard sized image. I looked at the distance of the entire trip and divided that by the age of the planet, and so that came down to a little bit under 1 millimeter, 1 grain of sand per year. Peter McQueen did the maths for me on that. Here we have the key. It was for me easy to give each of the topics a different color code to it, so that when you look at the image you can see the color and you'll know that it's, say for instance, if it's highlighted in brown, that means deep time history and landscape of environment. So each one of these tells its own story. Again, they're postcard sized images. Perhaps they're not artworks in themselves, but I had to create at times 3 or 4 of these in a day just to document all the different things that we saw along the trip. Tullamarine Airport, for instance, and onwards, finding a crater that Ludwig Becker painted. He thought it was a crater, but it wasn't. So again, we've got the botanical studies and talking to different people along the road. Again, here is it's color coded, so each one of these, by the way, has a film attached to it. That's why I put the images in, because it wasn't really my task just to make these artworks. This, by the way, this area is more so the type of artwork that I'd make, but it was important to put all the issues in, so I simply put in pictures like this as well. And again, you can watch the video. We'll link up to YouTube. So on each one of these are a series of weeds, for instance. You can watch the video on each one of these weeds. So this is the type of artwork I do. This is the type of postcard work that I've done for this project. And again, each one of these is a different story, or there's many stories in the image. And what I'm hoping is that school kids will print these out and join them together in the classroom. that's why I made them A4 in size. And there's historical aspects to it as well. Something like this, for instance, the African daisy, which is a terrible environmental weed. It looks nice and it's put in gardens, but of course it's spreading out through all the towns into native bushland areas, and it's very hard to destroy. It grows with these rhizomes. And in each one of these images, as I'm repeating, they're all postcard in shape and to be joined together. And every day we were passing so many different things. So here I just went along taking photographs of the ground cover, and you can see native weed, and that'll tell you which each one of them were. We went to Lake Mungo, and so I put some images in here of Chronosaurus queenslandicus, just referencing the inland sea. And I was there in 2006, and this is, well, a more artistic picture of this. It's the same place. So with all the rain, it's been humongous changes. Seen massive changes. So again, just moving through them, each one at postcard size. This looks like one long image. It's actually 3 postcards that I've joined together. You can see the join there in that one. And it features different speakers along the way. As here, there's a Simon Molesworth. He's an environmental lawyer talking about the Menindee Lakes. Darling River Action Group, individuals talking about, again, the Menindee Lakes. We have Indigenous leaders such as Auntie Beryl talking about the Indigenous background history in the environment. And this is one of the Dreamtime stories. You can click on the link and you can listen to the Dreamtime story that goes with this particular image. And again, postcard images, something like this, where we covered each one of these, the natives and the introduced weeds. Each one of these has a video link to it as well. So that is the first third, or maybe quarter. I think we're going to be going back and doing what we couldn't do because of the rain. And I hope that if you are a school teacher, you'll consider, well, firstly, using it in your own class. Kids can learn from the films. There's many films that each one of these images links into. Sometimes there's none, but often there's quite a number. And it's a different way of learning about the ecology, geology, deep time history of Australia, and also obviously within that the human relationship with the landscape, which has over the past 150 years since Burke and Wills came this way, and before that hasn't perhaps always been to the best interest of the natural environment, which would have to be the understatement of the decade. But there are a lot of good things happening as well. So we've highlighted them. So I hope your students will get a lot out of this, and it will encourage the most important thing, which is intrigue and seeking to learn more about the natural world. So thanks a lot.